And Gordon called in, and of course, and he put a challenge out there to some of you listeners saying, how are you handling this election? How are you handling the decision about who you're going to choose as your commander-in-chief? And Gordon, I hate to say it, but I think it might be apathy. That's the way people are handling it because nobody called in. That's the way we handle a lot of things. Apathy. We ignore them. We just don't do anything about them. We just go along and, we'll make a decision when we have to make a decision or not. And, sometimes when we, just like the Israelites, God led them out of the promised land with this promise of this amazing land that they were going to go to after they had been in bondage all these years. And then, the journey was too difficult for them. It wasn't short enough. It wasn't pleasant enough. It wasn't, it had its own share of trials and tribulations. And some of them wanted to turn around and go back. Just turn around and go back. They would prefer to be in bondage than to work their way to the promised land. And, when I think about this, and Gordon just opened it up to a whole different realm today where my mind had not gone at all. And I love it. I love that he did. Because, this is a reality of our world today. And I just believe that we lob along. God has this rich, luscious land waiting for us. And we lob along and we complain, but we're indecisive. We don't do anything. So we'll either just be stuck in our misery or we'll go back to bondage. We don't care. It's amazing that, that we have become this apathetic about our world that we live in, whether it's the big world, the United States world, the global world, whether it's our world. And of course, today when I was thinking about the promised land, I was thinking about our relationships. Isn't that the picture? I mean, God says, you know what? There is a place over here that you can land that is really, it flows with milk and honey. And if you're thinking about your marriage right now and it's not flowing with milk and honey, then you should have been one that called in today and said, Joyce, how can I get to that promised land in a relationship? How can I do that? That's what Gordon was asking today. How can I get to that place where I don't have to worry about my future, where I don't have to be concerned that I have all these ailments, and now who's going to take care of me? How am I going to do this if they cut off Social Security? Well, it's interesting, Gordon, because, with all of your degrees in theology, you well know probably this tidbit, but isn't it interesting that once these children of the generations that grumbled made it to the promised land, then the people started to cut off. What they did was they banned goats. That was one of the first things they did. They banned goats. Why? Because this was their wealth. And it's so interesting that even through that one act, they were trying to get rid of the Jewish nation even then. Isn't that interesting? I had, when I was doing that research on the promised land, I ran across that tidbit and I had never heard that. I just thought how interesting that they put a ban on the goats so that it would diminish their wealth and finally extinguish the Jewish nation. Well, of course, we know that didn't happen. God's going to protect his children. He just is. And we have to understand that about us too, Gordon. We are here. And we're under this oppression. We're under this uncertainty. We're kind of in this holding pattern of like, okay, so we've enjoyed some really good times. We've seen some really bad times. And now, we're in this holding pattern. And are we going to grumble and complain or are we going to do something about it? Are we going to move on into the promised land, or are we going to go back into bondage or stay in this holding pattern? We don't know what tomorrow holds for sure. We don't know any of those things, but we do know who holds it. But this was what I was hearing from Gordon. You know, Gordon, I think if you even call back now, you'd probably describe or define your promised land here as, you know, maybe not having to worry about your future financially, not having all, you know, this clinical depression and your chronic anxiety and your PTSD and, you know, some of the other physical ailments that go along with this. You know, you would probably say, you know, Joyce, that promised land to me looks free of those things. Free of those things. You know, that's probably not, it may not happen. I'm not going to say it wouldn't, but it may not happen that you will free yourself of these ailments before you go on to the big promised land. But wouldn't it be nice if we could be secure enough in our political arena to have a godly person that we could depend on their word? And that's exactly what Gordon and I were talking about. That would be so wonderful to know that we could depend on that. And I keep praying, and this is another way, Gordon, that I am dealing with this election, is I am praying that God will take hold of the heart of whomever gets elected, and that he will transform their heart by the renewing of their mind too. And you know, but of course we know that they have to be willing to be transformed. And so I'm just praying for something like that, and that they will surround themselves with godly people. Now, I think we've seen the track record of some of these people, and I'm not so sure that's going to happen. But it could. It won't if we don't pray about it, for sure. If we just remain apathetic and do nothing, but let our carcasses die and rot right here without praying or getting a plan for something better. And, you know, that is the way it is in our relationships too. I can't tell you how many husbands and wives individually and corporately I have talked with this week alone. Since being back from vacation, a lot of people were catching up, but a lot of them were new. A whole plethora of new people, just because of one show that I did while on vacation, that are trying to find that promised land that flows of milk and honey in their relationships. Long-time relationships, some of them married 30 plus years. That's where God wants us to be. But how much do we want to get there, and what are we willing to put into it? 571-2428.
WFIA, The Spirit.
Hi, my name is Holton. I'm a senior at Christian Academy of Louisville, and I've been here since kindergarten. Cal's just a really good school because they have great athletics, and the teachers really care about the students. The students care about each other. The teachers really do care about what you're learning. They've really taught me a lot about studying, about taking notes, and really how to succeed as a person. Since I've been at Cal, I've played baseball, lacrosse, and soccer and football. And I've also been in the Y Club, in the Spirit Club, and the Latin Club, and I've been in the National Honor Society. I'm very fortunate at Christian Academy to be able to go to the college of choice, and not only that, but have a full scholarship there. You know, that's a testament to what Cal's done for me. If I could thank Cal for one thing, it would be for preparing me for college and being able to form relationships with people around me. If all this sounds good to you, you can check out Christian Academy online or schedule a tour.
It's our golden anniversary at WFIA. 50 years on the air in Kentuckiana. And you can help us kick off our 50th summer. This Father's Day, June 19th at Huber. As WFIA and Better by Design present Gold City. With plenty of gold records of their own, Gold City. Celebrate Dad's heart of gold with a sweet deal that's good as gold. With 2 tickets, which include Huber's Family Restaurant's amazing buffet and a Gold City concert for just $50. Gold City. Just 200 pairs of tickets will be sold, and they'll go fast. Don't miss this golden opportunity with Gold City. Call Call Huber's now for tickets, 812-923-5255. That's 812-923-5255. Call 812-923-5255. You're listening to Just Ask Joyce on WFIA, The Spirit.
You know, Acts 3 kind of should be maybe brought to our attention today, because it really kind of says where our faith is. You know, where is our faith when we think about maybe getting to that promised land again? You know, and I'm thinking about 11 through 16. Actually, let me read it. I wish I had my version of the NIV because I really like it much better. But this is the newest version of NIV. While the man held on to Peter and John, all the people were astonished and came running to them in the place called Solomon's Colonnade. When Peter saw this, he said to them, "Fellow Israelites, why does this surprise you? Why do you stare at us as if by our own power or godliness we had made this man walk? The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of our fathers, has glorified his servant Jesus. You handed him over to be killed, and you disowned him before Pilate, though he had decided to let him go. You disowned the holy and righteous one and asked that a murderer be released to you. You killed the author of life, but God raised him from the dead. We are witnesses of this. By faith, in the name of Jesus, this man whom you see and know was made strong. It is Jesus' name and the faith that comes through him that has completely healed him, as you all can see." You know, I think that we need to understand that our faith takes courage. You know, it can happen, and many things can happen. Many things can be attainable, and even miraculous things can happen. But where is our faith? And how tightly are we going to hold on to it? How boldly are we going to speak out about it? And how firmly are we going to stand on it? I see us in a land where we are wandering around aimlessly. God says, you know, I could return you to this promised land. I can deliver you there if you would just honor me. And we are not honoring him in our country. We're not honoring him in our homes. And even the Christians aren't. And guys, I hate saying this. I do. It hurts me. Can you imagine how it must grieve the Holy Father that his children are not honoring him in their homes? And you know you're not. Some of you know you're not. You know, if you have a spirit of unkindness, if you are dabbling in pornography, if you are having an emotional affair, if you are having a mean spirit, if you are barking down your children's throats, exasperating them and you know, just frustrating them beyond measure, if you are not being a parent who will rein them in and who will discipline them, all of this is dishonoring to the Lord. And I could go on with many, many other issues. But we, as a Christian family, are not doing the very things that we find offensive in the world. And so we are falling short of our promised land. And listen, while the world may not get there, and i.e., you know, the United States world, our world that's going to affect us, of course, globally, I believe it's all going to affect us one day. And it already is. You can mark that down. But, you know, but our little world, our home little world, we can acquire the promised land right there. Right there. We can have a home that flows with milk and honey. Will we be wealthy, you know, because we have some goats? No, you know, but you see what I'm saying? We can have that luscious, that rich life right there in our own homes if we just stop fighting each other and partner up with the Lord and do what's right by him. Let's do what's right by him. You know, put on the skin of Jesus every day, and our lives would change drastically. Just food for thought. The promised land hit me, and I pray that, Gordon and I developed that for you today, that you kind of get a glimpse of what I'm talking about. Yes, we all want to aspire for that big promised land, that heaven where, we don't have to worry about money or health or anything else. But in the meantime, don't you want to live in a promised land right here? I do. But it's going to take effort. It's going to take effort on every one of our parts, and it's going to take us doing our part as well, not expecting someone else to get it done. And Gordon, that goes for us politically as well. I appreciate that call more than you will know today, and I'm going to be praying that you will find peace about this. And I'll be praying for your health and your finances as well. That's my promise to you. All right, guys, next hour we're going to talk about what has been the biggest challenge in your marriage. Coming up next on Just Ask Joyce. Don't go away. In the meantime, I'm in battle for his cause.
The Spirit, 94.7 WFIA FM New Albany, Louisville, is a service of Salem Media Group. Online at WFIAFM.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Not only is he endorsing Hillary Clinton for president,
I don't think there's ever been someone so qualified to hold this office.
President Obama will be hitting the campaign trail with his former Secretary of State. The two will appear together next week in Wisconsin. The president endorsed Clinton not long after meeting with her Democratic rival, Bernie Sanders, at the White House. And unlike the president, Sanders still not ready to back Clinton.
Sanders is vowing to block Donald Trump from winning the presidency, but has yet to offer an endorsement of Clinton as the Democratic Party's nominee.
I look forward to meeting with her in the near future to see how we can work together to defeat Donald Trump.
Speaking here at the White House, Sanders said he plans to remain in the race through next week's primary in the District of Columbia. Greg Clugston, the White House.
A Michigan prosecutor has charged a 50-year-old man with 5 counts of second-degree murder after a pickup truck slammed into a group of bicyclists earlier this week near Kalamazoo. 5 people killed. He says President Obama's foreign policy record is nothing to write home about. House Speaker Paul Ryan says it's a record of one mistake after another.
He shrugged off ISIS until it threw off the Iraqi government. And his response to Russia's aggression has been timid at best.
House Republicans laying out a national security agenda, a program that seeks to shift the conversation from Donald Trump's contentious presidential campaign toward concrete policies for securing the country's borders and for defeating terrorism. Closing Wall Street, stocks end the day modestly lower. The Dow Jones Industrial Average down about 20 points at the closing bell, 17,985 the close. The NASDAQ off 16 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
WFIA, The Spirit.
It's a Q&A day on Just Ask Joyce, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to answer your questions. We're going to get you a solution for your problem today. What is it that's bugging you? What is it that is keeping you from love, that is keeping joy out of your life? What is it that is just shackling you to maybe a past that you just can't get rid of? We're going to talk about all that today. If you'll just give us a call, 571-2428, 571-CHAT. As a Family Life Fix-It Pro, I deal with these kinds of issues day in and day out with many people. I can certainly deal with yours, but don't be shy. That's what it's going to take, is for you to lay your timidity aside and just call in, even if it's with an assumed name. No one cares, but God cares that you do find a solution for your problems. So let's get started right now on Just Ask Joyce, and it's brought to you by Window World and About Face Spa and Salon.
Connect with Southeast Christian Church in the Louisville area through our weekly Southeast TV broadcast, Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. on Wave 3. Episodes include powerful testimonies, community partner profiles, and messages from Pastors Dave Stone and Kyle Eidelman. We think you'll relate to the stories, be inspired by the teaching, and feel more connected to our community and to Jesus. We hope you will join us by tuning in Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. on